Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me. Down the inside, absolutely impossible scene.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We're robust. We got our elbows out.
Ronar takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Yarda Watmere is your champion.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are in the world. And welcome back after a break week to PSGL PCF2, where today we return with one of the newer tracks. Well, I would say newer tracks, the newest track to join the calendar. That's right, we head to the Madrid. We head to Madrid for round 4. My name is Max Ring, and I'll be taking you through all tonight's action with, of course, the regular man alongside me in the commentary box. Omi, how are you on this Thursday evening?
Hello, Max. I'm doing very, very well. Well, we've had a week break, so it is great to be back with you and great to be continuing things off. And we continued things off with no F3, with no F5. You would have seen there was no streams. That's because, as we're at a new circuit off Madrid, a lot of drivers not fancying racing today across all tiers. So what's basically gone on, and to just give you the context, F3 and F5 have got cancelled, and with F3, they've moved up to F2. The drivers who did want to race, they're now racing with us in F2. So we've got a bigger grid, so we can bring you a proper show. So we've, of course, got rid of 2 races, but it's to make the other 2 better. So we can all enjoy some racing action with as much as drivers possible racing here at 8 p.m. So some new contenders in the field. Max, you've commentated on quite a few of them as well. So we'll take you through when we get into qualifying some of our new names. But looking forward to seeing how they do up against our usual suspects in F2.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how all these drivers do, of course, perform, making their big stage debut onto F2. Yep. And, of course, it's a good proving ground, Omi, of course, for next season as well. Yes. If you have a good race here, yes, Madrid may be a bit of an outlier circuit, it's new, but if you've adapted to it quickly, you can certainly prove yourself, and for next season, it could certainly be a place where, of course, you've had this performance. You might get that opportunity in F2 next season if you've put in the time trials that are competitive enough. But we'll have to wait and see. But of course, the big talking point that you all want to see. Let's refresh you on the standings. It is Liam Stevens who leads the way, 16 points clear of Tony Hitala. So Hitala needs to take pole position and the race victory, and Liam Stevens not to score if he wants, of course, to take that championship lead away. There's Piotr Stachilek in third. He's a further point back from Hitala, both having very disappointing Belgian Grand Prix. It's got Conrad Bowman fourth after a fantastic second place last time out. There's Tudor Preskin, Abe Gabadi, who's been very unlucky over the past couple of rounds. And then you've got Alejandro Loureiro, Laurie Tulke, Tamash Kokeni, Zach Styler, who rounds out the top 10. Then it's Dirk Vermont, Nelson Alves, Stephen Vasso, Rishan Jacobs, Casper Flack, Elia Tomasetto, Tom Roberts, and Alex Santana rounds out your points finishers. I believe all of the championship, well, the top 3 in the standings are here tonight. So that, oh no, Tony Hitala's not here tonight. So this actually, a perfect opportunity for Stevens here, Omi.
Yeah, exactly. Tony Hitala, actually, if he was here today, would have had a great chance to equal our most pole positions record in PCF2. That'll be something that we take over to next week, and we'll continue that stat over there. But no Tony Hitala with us here today, and it means that there's some great opportunities for some others, including Stevens, as you mentioned, to try and pull away. And I'm looking forward to seeing whether they can do exactly that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. It should be rather interesting, especially with the F3 drivers. I know we've already mentioned them, but it also means that, of course, you've got some drivers that potentially some of these guys haven't even raced against before. Of course, a lot of the F3 drivers, they're in all the same teams, they're in all this, of course, You see teams all the same sort of leagues as well, but there may be some that only do PSGL, and some of these guys ain't raced against him before, and they don't know how to drive against someone like that. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic, and of course they've just got a point to prove, these F3 drivers. They know they're coming into this race, they're going to be the underdogs, and they're just looking to get the best result possible. I don't think they're going to really be aiming for a race win. It's just get as high up the order as you possibly can. And around a new circuit like Madrid, it's a street track as well here, Omi. It's not got many overtaking opportunities, so qualifying tonight could be rather important.
It really, really could. We've had one of our drivers, Liam Stevens, draw a comparison to Monaco, and we know how hard it is to overtake around that circuit. It's basically Monaco, but just a little bit more high speed and fast, rapid, flowing type of circuit. Basically Jeddah, but if Jeddah had a lot less overtaking opportunities, pretty much. So yeah, quite the challenge. And I'd say even at this level, it wouldn't be surprising if a driver does end up hitting that barrier, trying to push straight to the limit.
Especially through that final corner. That final corner, very, very tricky indeed. A little bit off camber. And it's just a bit of a struggle. That of course, right-hander, you naturally understeer out wide. And if you push hard enough, you go straight off and into the barrier. Of course, we do have 22 cars tonight. One of them, of course, will not be participating in qualifying, and that's Cameron Dowds. After an incident he had in China for impeding, he will not take part. Victor Vidler, I think, will also not take part. I think he's also got a qualifying ban after, yes, he does, after impeding last time out, and that was on Jensen Rowson in Spa. But drivers have made their way trackside. I'll now bring to you the newest addition to the F1 calendar. Of course, we did have a social race around here, but this is the first in-season attempt at the Madrid. And Omi, it's going to be interesting. The first proper go at this circuit. And just from a driver's point of view, it's going to be a big challenge.
It very much is. Well, these are the opening moments, as you mentioned, of running around this circuit. When it comes to in-season, and when everything is consequential, and when everything is important, as we go through that banked corner with Rosen. And I'll cut over to Nelson Alves. We've got the PSGL sponsor boards as per normal surrounding this circuit to give it our own little touch, as well as we take a look at Seechuk now making his way by. And as you mentioned, Max, a very important qualifying session. I mean, it's always good if you can top qualifying. It brings you an extra point, but it could very much go a long way in deciding the order. Also, because it's such a tight circuit, you really don't want to be in the mid-pack, where everyone's looking for dive bombs, where you've got F3 drivers most likely as well, with nothing to lose, and all going for it. Seechuk then makes his way over the line, and it is time to go on board for a lap around the Madrid.
Nicely done through the first couple of corners, proper clobbering those apex curbs, and as you make your way through free in an open straight line mode for the first time, of course, a lot of battery will be used in the first part of the lap. Then the straight line mode disables, you shift down to 7th gear over these little curbs, a hop, skip and a jump. Of course, they've added sausage curbs now, so you can't do the cut. And then as we head up into turn 6, a very clumsy right-hander, and then make your way down the hill into this S-like chicane, a bit like Bahrain with turn 6 and 7. Very easy to understeer wide into the wall. Through the bank corner, it's just flat out through here. Use the battery maybe to give yourself a slight boost. Keep a narrow line because, of course, you want to stick to the right-hand side for the outside of the next left-hander. Once again, naturally just understeers you out wide. Flat out once again from Seechuk, like a very fast lap around this Madrid circuit, and then you're instantly looking at the next apex, down to 3rd gear, underneath the bridge. We will go instantly into 2 off-cambered left and right-handers. Very easy to understeer wide and into the wall like we saw from Seechuk, but using the track well, using all the extremities he possibly can. Now, as we're exiting outside of the museum and coming our way through the penultimate corner now, and up into the very tricky final corner, which I pointed out could be a bit of a challenge here in qualifying. Hits the apex nicely, doesn't use all the road possible, but the banker, the benchmark time, it's a 1 minute 28.2 from the Williams driver. With Casper Flack to the line, he sets a 28.5, 3 tenths shy from one of course, the drivers who are really trying to make an impression so far tonight.
Absolutely, so these are the opening laps then coming our way. One of our F3 contenders joining us today in F2, Giovanna Kennis into 2nd position. You've also got Lucas Beischner, who is leading the F3 Championship. The runner-up as well, Raphael Kunch is also with us. We've also got Cloud, Wojtek Steg, Lawrence, and also Diego Ferrer. So plenty of great names in the field, and it's Conrad Bohm who is top right now, a 1 minute 28.108. But those are some of our new names that we have, battling with some of our usual drivers, including Liam Stevens, who, as Max mentioned earlier, has a great opportunity to extend the championship lead here today, and he slots into second place, Red Bull 1-2 at this stage.
Great start to the session for both the Red Bull drivers. Of course, Liam Stevens is a reserve. That's why you constantly keep seeing him swap around in whatever car he's using week by week, but still puts in those consistent performances, not let it phase him. Nelson Alves went, of course, to 5th. That was Lucas Bays, and then just moving up into 11th fastest. Still waiting on times from Cloud, Tamash Kokeni and Jensen Rowson. Jensen now pushing on through the final sector. See what he can deliver. Now makes his way through the right, then the left. Be all about this next braking zone. And of course, track limits is going to be a big thing as well here, Omi. Of course, the whole turns 5 and 6 chicane, that's been patched, of course, with the sausage curbs. But there's still a couple of places where you can just run that little bit wide, or maybe just take too much of the inside apex curb and pick up an invalidation, especially at turn 1.
Yes, so there's lots of places around this venue where you can just get a little bit greedy, let's just say, trying to extract more lap time. At this level, more lap time, a few thousandths, can be the difference. So that is why we basically get that, and that is why the drivers will absolutely push right to the edge. But it's so important to be within the limit and not out, or you can end up with either finding yourself into the barrier or with a invalid lap. And as you can see, the map being red there, that'll be the case for those drivers. We'll see it across this session who's kept the lap in. And this is Tamas Kokeni, the driver currently, who's recorded a 1 minute 28.213, and it is put him behind the Red Bulls in 3rd.
Certainly has indeed, and for Kokeni, been a rather poor start to the season for him. Not too strong, but he'll be looking to certainly make amends on that one as we now, of course, come into round 4 of the season. If you had a poor start to, of course, the opening 3 rounds, that week break was a good refresher for you. You come back now with maybe some newfound confidence after an extra week of practice, or you've just been able to get to grips with the car that little bit more. But then again, of course, on the flip side of that, Omi, if you were on good form like Stevens and Stachulek, it's not affected them too much as of now, but it can completely topple that performance. You have the momentum, you have a week off, and then it all just completely dissipates. So it is going to be interesting to see how these drivers now come back from the week break, and who might just be able to turn their season around. Because, of course, if you want to start a championship campaign, it's within these next, I would say, 3 rounds where you need to start picking up your performances.
Absolutely, that is the case as well. We left Spa putting heavy emphasis on the form and the break week that we'd have, the only break week of the season, and how that could very much change things, and how going into it with good confidence would be great. However, if it's not gone to plan, how to completely try and turn around your season. We got a break week which takes place after 3 rounds, and then it's a sprint all the way. We're racing every single week now until the end of the season and the final round. So if you can get some good form going from here, then it can very much completely transform your season. And if you're looking good around the Mad Ring, then it's a great chance to as well, because there's going to be lots of drivers who necessarily aren't having the best time driving around the circuit. There's a reason why we've had a lot of tiers not be able to go on, and grids having to be combined to give you a full grid here today. So very much so, if you are dialed in, if you are feeling confident, then you've got a great opportunity to try and move forward from there.
You certainly do indeed. Currently, it's only 4 attempts that separate. Of course, Conrad Bohm all the way down to Casper Flack. He's on a 28.5, Bohm on a 28.1. So very close grid indeed, but there's not too many braking zones where you can find the time around this circuit, but Casper Flack is up by about 2.5 tenths of a second. So as he now makes his way into the final part of the lap, might have a Mercedes to contend with just in front of him. I believe that might be of Dirt Vermont. We can now make our way through the final couple of corners. This penultimate corner, very difficult traction put down, and then through the final corner we'll go. Here we go for Casper Flack. How much of an improvement have we found? He lost a bit of time in that final sector, but puts him up into 10th fastest. So Stachulek is making his way now through the middle sector. He might have a Haas to deal with come the end of this lap, but in the first sector, the Alpine driver down by a few hundredths of a second.
He's had a 4th, he's had a 2nd when it comes to qualifying so far this season, along with a 14th. Round 3's qualifying is not something that he'll want to keep in mind. He'll more want to look at the form that he had in the opening 2 rounds of the season. And he's down by about 0.5 tenth of a second when he's completed the 2nd sector split. So the driver currently in 4th, trying to find a step forward at this stage, but not finding it the easiest. Of course, darting very close to the walls, as you should be. Of course, you want to make sure you get as close as possible, but not hitting it at this stage as you flick it over the curb and make your way towards the outside wall. And then it's all about making your way through the final turn. It's not looked Stachulek's best effort, and there you go, 300th down from what he managed earlier on. Not the case for Stevens, because he is improving and he is going quicker. Still a long way to go in this lap. We're in sector 2 and we still need the sector time split to see whether he's still improving.
Yeah, we certainly do indeed. He's got a few cars in front of him that are on push laps. Ave Gabadi now goes to the top of the times with a 28.0. That's a spectacular lap time there from the V-Carb driver. Of course, some of last season's F3 compatriots will know Gabadi rather well. Yep. Vermont now goes to the very top. First driver into the 27s, a 27.8 from the, of course, Mercedes driver. Stevens up by a 10th of a second in the middle sector, but at the moment, this will only be enough to pip teammate Conrad Bowman, actually also pip Ave Gabadi, so it'll only be a front row start so far for Liam Stevens. But as he makes his way up into the final corner, what are we going to see here from the Red Bull man? A little bit wide from the final apex. That's going to cost him dearly, and across the line he does find time. It is enough for 2nd fastest, but certainly lost a little bit in the final part of the lap there. Tamas Kokeni, as he now makes his way through the final couple of corners. Laurie Tulke moves his way up into 4th, pushing this man down to 6th place now. He's got a bit too aggressive through the final corner as well. Across the line he comes. He lost a 10.5 in total over the course of that lap. Giovanni Kennis to the line, one of the F3 newcomers here tonight. He goes to 6th fastest, pushing Tamas Kokeni down even further. Alves has invalidated. Same with Quintino. Santana now to the line. He also invalidated on that previous lap. But for Dirt Vermont, the only driver into the 27s, a spectacular lap here on these second runs.
Absolutely incredible. That is some lap from the driver who has had a best result of 14th so far this season when it comes to 1 lap pace. That's his best result when it came to qualifying in round 2 at Shanghai International. And he's not even been in the top 10, but here he is right now at Madrid, P1, but still 5 minutes and 30 seconds to go. Provisional pole at the moment for the Mercedes man, but there's going to be plenty of drivers who are going to try and displace him, and that'll be the case when we get to the final runs. Kennis currently the lead F3 driver in the field as well, so he's very much doing well, and we'll keep an eye and track all of their progress. Another interesting run in this session, and let's put Vermont top, Stevens 2nd, Bohm 3rd, Red Bull still together, Gabadi in 4th, and Laurie Tulke currently completes your top 5.
Very close top 5 as well. You've got Vermont with around about that 2/10 advantage, but then Stevens, Bohm and Gabadi all separated by less than 0.04 of a second. It is ridiculously close there for the 2nd spot on the front row of the grid. Then you've got the likes of Kokeni, Stachulek, Alves, Quintino, all in the 0.2s. Jensen Ralston is a few thousandths over a 10th behind Kokeni as well. So if he found a 10th of a second, he will be able to move himself up into 7th place. And then you've still got the likes of Flack and Santana also in a very close window as well. A lot of these teams, of course, very close to one another. A lot of these drivers very close to one another. And of course, The interesting thing as well, not of course in qualifying, but in the race as well to note, Omi, is that the pit lane cuts off the first 3 corners. You rejoin down that first straight with a straight line mode. So, of course, when you come into pit lane, don't lose as much time as you would expect.
Absolutely. You don't lose as much time as you'd think, because you're very much thrown into the circuit, so you can get some side-by-side when we rejoin, and drivers who've already got the tyres up to temperature. Looking forward to that in the race, and that'll be a key element come the contest as well, because we find ourselves with a circuit where it will be tricky to overtake, not your Spa that we've just been around, for example. As we now get ready to make our way back on the circuit. So 20 drivers in the field, all set and ready to battle for a single point that is available for pole position. Can be so important come the end of the season. Cameron Dowds and Victor Vidler, they have qualifying bans, which is why they're not taking part in this 18-minute session. So it leaves us with 20, and one of them is Nelson Alves, currently 9th. And it's going to be fascinating to see what Alves is going to be able to do. He's done 2 rounds so far this season, has had a 10th, has had a 9th. Let's see whether he can go one better. Well, he'll want to go massively better than that, but we'll find out in about 3 minutes' time.
We certainly will indeed. We know Nelson Alves does have good race pace, but a circuit like Madrid, where there's not many heavy braking zones, is certainly going to be a challenge. The further down the grid you qualify, the harder it's going to be to make your way up through the field. But I think the only saving grace if you're in that mid-pack is the fact that, of course, with there not being many heavy braking zones, Omi, is the fact that you can save a lot of the battery in that mid-pack by just lifting off that little bit earlier as it all concertinas up, and you save that battery, whereas the race leader for such, or the top 3, they may not have a lot of battery because, of course, they're constantly battling tooth and nail to try and hold on to the car in front, try stay in that overtake mode zone. Be interesting to see how the battery levels play out as well in this Grand Prix, but it will be Nelson Alves who gets us underway. I believe potentially Thermon behind him. No, that's going to be Alex Santana who is going to be the car behind him. But as we move back to Nelson Alves on what will begin the final runs here of qualifying. Luckily for him, Omi, he's one of the only drivers who's given himself enough time to back off and go again if he does make a mistake.
There we go. Time for an attack. Around the mad ring then. You flick it in through the opening few turns, and then get ready for some of the elevation change in this opening sector. And then eventually you'll find yourself with a sector split to see whether you're improving, to see whether you've got to send it in sector 2 and sector 3. You can see he was backing off just a little bit in towards the corner. We still have battery, of course, to manage when it comes to this qualifying session. 67 thousandths of a second he's improving by in the first sector split. Let's see whether he can better it now in sector 2 and in sector 3. He'll want to go even quicker because some of the drivers nearer to the front are beyond that margin.
Yeah, he certainly are indeed. So for Alves, as he makes his way through the banked right-hander and all the way down now into, I believe, turn 14, it's going to be all about trying to get the power down nicely, try and just throw the car through the corners, have a proper attack. This is a great circuit for hot lapping because you can chuck the car into the corners. You've really got to attack those apexes. But as we now make our way into the final sector, Nelson Alves with a lot to prove. He's, of course, taken poles and race victories here before in PCF2, most notably Texas last season. But as he now makes his way into the penultimate part of the circuit, got to keep it clean, got to keep it valid, got to get this one across the line because people behind can make mistakes. And here we come then across the line with Nelson Alves. It's second fastest, a spectacular lap to put him on the front row, but we still have to wait for the others to finish off their laps. Next to the line looks to be Piotr Stachulek maybe as he comes to the line. He does come to the line, he goes third fastest, a 28.0 from the Alpine man. Casper Flack goes to second fastest. Times are tumbling. Times are certainly changing. Liam Stevens is invalidated his lap. So Stevens, the championship leader, will not find an improvement. Gabadi into second. Vermonder's also invalidated. So whoever takes pole position away from the Mercedes might just be able to keep it. What about Conrad Bohm? He's down in the middle sector and he now makes his way through the final couple of corners. Jensen Ralston stays 12th. Quintino stays 11th. Kokeli moves his way up into 4th. But no one really rivaling the lap of the Mercedes. He's booming to the wall on the exit across the line. Finds a small amount of time, but stays 9th fastest. Laurie Tulke's up by 300ths in the middle sector, but we've still got the two McLarens of Basner and Raphael to make their way to the line. Of course, making their way in from F3 here tonight. Lucas Basner to the line, 11th fastest. Raphael was 15th. Cloud isn't pushing on either, so all eyes now turn to Laurie Tulke, the only man left on the road that can dispossess that pole position from Dirk Vermond. Across the line we go with the Alpine. Can he do it? No, just misses out. Goes to second fastest, and it's going to be Dirk Vermond, who's not even started in the top 10 so far this season. The Mercedes man snatches pole position with a spectacular lap on the second runs, and nobody was able to get close enough. He really showed the level that you needed to be at the early stages of this qualifying session.
Yep, absolutely. We mentioned how Madrid could throw things up in the air with the challenge of this circuit, with the circuit still being new as well, and whether you can lock in through some corners as well, and that can give you a good margin, because remember, that was done on the previous run. So if you can find the perfect lap in an 18-minute session, you are going to get yourself into P1. And it seemed like Dirk Vermond did find the absolute perfect lap as well, because it's very hard to replicate what you sometimes would do in practice. A lot of the drivers clearly haven't been able to do that here today. Vermond absolutely did. He's delivered, and he joins an incredible list of PCF2 drivers, our 71st pole sitter in championship history.
Lovely stuff there from Dirk Vermond, who may just be able to rebound his season after a tricky start. Just waiting for Statulec's car to come into pit lane, then we'll give you your grid rundown. But real bitter disappointment there, of course, for not for Pitor Statulet, well, also for Statulet, but for Liam Stevens here, Omi. Only 9th fastest, but of course he qualified 11th in China. It's not the first time we've seen him down there this season in qualifying and making a mistake at the death. There certainly could be someone to look out for in this race. But it is Dirk Vermond who takes pole position by a 10th of a second. It's Laurie Tulke in second, who took that front row spot away from Abe Gabadi by 0.02 of a second. And it's Casper Flack, Tamashko, Kenny Nelson, Alves, Pitor Stachulek, who's in front of one of his championship rivals, Liam Stevens. So still has a great opportunity to at least claw some points back. Then it's Kenneth Stevens, Bone rounds out the top 10. Then it's Basner, Quintino, Ralston, Santana, Raphael, Cloud, Diego Ferrer, Tom Roberts, and Wojtek Steg, along with Lorenz rounding out your drivers with a lap, and of course Cameron Dowds and Victor Vidler not set laps as they had a qualifying ban. But really only Kenneth from the F3 drivers making a big impression there, Omi. So unless these drivers may be better into, of course, race pace, and really the strongest sessions from the F3 cohort.
Yeah, and you know, of course, you've got to take the most you can out of a situation, but it's not the easiest one to come in, because clearly the F2 grid isn't really being representative at this stage anyway in terms of what we've seen across this season so far. So equally then, it would also apply to F3. So you can get a bit of a mixed up grid and lead to a very interesting race. Who could deliver the lap time in those 18 minutes? That was critical. And yeah, we're going to be seeing a lot of the F3 drivers definitely in the future. The championship in F3 only separated by one single point. Let's hope we can get a close championship by the end of it. And who knows how this is going to go. But right now, it's all eyes to go racing in Madrid very, very shortly.
It certainly is indeed. Shouldn't be too long until we get the 5 red light command and lights out here in Madrid for the first time in PSGL history. We will have a race at this circuit. Of course, the newest addition to the F1 calendar for the 2026 season. We're about to have our first proper attempt here in PSGL PCF2 at a race at this very venue. You can make your name in history as being the first driver to win a race at Madrid in PCF2. What a feat and what a title could have to your name for the rest of PSGL history and the rest of your career. And Dirk Vermond put himself in a prime position to do just that. Of course, he's going to be joined on the front row by Laurie Tulke. They've both had rather struggling starts to the season. They're definitely going to want to pick up the form here in Madrid tonight. But here we are then with the 5 red lights. It's the Mercedes and the Alpine on the front row, and it's a good start from Dirt Vermont as we are underway here in Madrid. Ave Gabadi got a lightning launch off the line as he already looks to the outside of the Alpine to try and snatch that second place away, which was brutally taken away from him in qualifying by only a few thousandths, but he has to slot in behind. Casper Flack in 4th, Tamas Kokeni in 5th as they all now batter their way down into the turn, of course, 5 and 6 chicane. Kokeni on the inside of Casper Flack. Can he get the move done and make his way up into 4th? It certainly looks like he potentially can, but no, Flack is able to hold on. Stevens already up into 6th place. He's had a lightning launch and a lightning start in this one. He's passed Kenish, Sachulek, and also Lucas Basner as we see Quintino and Alves dropping down throughout the field. And Alves in the wall slightly with some big front wing damage where it does the Williams driver, and that's really unfortunate for Alves. Of course, no safety cars, so he's going to be really offset, and he's going to need to pray for something big to happen in this race if he wants to come back for points. But for Dirt Vermont, a brilliant getaway, 8 attempts clear already, and Larry Talkie have a lot of catching up to do, but a great start as well here, Omi, from the championship leader.
Massive pinch point as well on the opening lap. That's what lots were thinking would happen as well on the opening tour. There'd be big troubles. Luckily, most were able to get through, but there was definitely always going to be some front wing damage after we saw the initial contact where there were multiple cars battling at one tight part of the circuit. Clear view, however, for Doug Vermont, and he made sure that it stayed that way after the launch that he got off the line. So, lap 1 complete for the first ever race at Madrid for PCF2. Vermont, Tulkey, and then Gobadi in 3rd position as we get down into the part of the race where now they begin to settle in and assess what it's like to go racing at this very much big elite level up against all of these rapid drivers with an important championship to them at this time on the line. Nelson Alves, his race is not going to go any further. Due to the damage he got on the opening lap, he's decided to end his race and is our first retirement after the opening lap.
Yeah, unfortunately there for Nelson Alves, with no safety car, there's not really a way back into a race like this unless you have some undoubted pace and some godly speed. And unfortunately, he doesn't think he will have that and has come into pit lane to retire. Victor Bidler is already up into 17th from his last place start, so he's made up a few places, but now the drivers will settle into a rhythm. Santana looking for a move onto Quintino, wasn't able to get the move done, but the drivers certainly now going to settle into a rhythm, just try and build into this race. Of course, this could be some of their first competitive races around this circuit, a track that's not really favoured by many. See what they are going to be able to deliver. Looking at the tyres from, of course, the start of this race, the top 17 all on the mediums. Lorenz, Tom Roberts, Cameron Dowds and Wojtek Steg all electing to go onto the hard compounder tyre. So from the top 17 drivers here, Omi, we're going to see the same strategy. I'll be interested to see who is able to get it right and who pits when.
That'll be the next important phase as we very much get settled in to this race. It was absolutely to be expected. That's why when you pit and whether you can jump your rivals through strategy is going to be very, very important. At this point, you're basically reviewing how much battery you've got. Can you try and, you know, if you're a tenth behind, can you try and turn that into an overtake? Victor Vidler is looking very close to the back of Cloud at this stage. So he's one of the drivers who was inching closer, but then eventually when you get close you find yourself with a corner incoming, so you're not able to do much with it. But yeah, he's definitely right now the closest driver to someone else out there, and he's very much just beginning to try and push to see whether he can make a little bit of a sneaky overtake at some point. And it is all about trying to catch your rival out if you do want to make a maneuver.
It certainly is going to be all about trying to put the pressure on the car in front and then making the attack if you want any opportunity of making your way through, because of course, as you mentioned, Omi, it is you get close, you're going down a straight and then bang, a corner straight into another corner. You're not able to have a full opportunity on the brakes except from the likes of turn 1 and potentially up the hill into 6, and then not even after the banking, because it may look like a harsh corner, turn 14, but it's not really. It's a small dab of the brakes and then into the left-hander. But we've got Cloud into the pit lanes, maybe some suspected wing damage now on that Cadillac. We see him now trundle down the pits. see if he does need a front wing replacement. Of course, need to look out for track limits as well for these drivers, and this will be our first pit stop around this circuit as well. A driver coming into the pit lane, and it doesn't actually look like it is for a front wing. So this is a planned pit stop to try go all the way to the end. Cloud trying something different.
Yeah, he very much seemed like he's in the pack and there's nothing that's going to happen here. So he's very much just going to try something, which it is very, very rare. Very, very rare that, I'd say even at Monaco, we have started races in PCF2 and got a, couple of side-by-side close ding-dongs. We've not really had much at all after this opening lap of the contest. So yes, proving very, very tricky. And that's why qualifying, that's why we put such big emphasis on it. And that's why it's very much going to go a long way. Still, the drivers have to keep it out of the barriers, and they're so close to the barriers at so many parts of this circuit as well. There we go, Abe Gabadi momentarily getting a bit of a twitch as he made his way through the corner, and having to just correct it then and continue on. And also the heat is not on the driver's side, most likely, especially if you're racing in the UK or basically most likely anywhere around Europe at this moment in a heat wave. So there's many things that can go wrong, so they've got to stay high focus. Right, more drivers coming into the pit lane. Bohm and Rosen also in as well as we enter lap number 5.
Very early pit stops indeed, as this may be summarising what might happen in this race, is that we have early pit stops, drivers get their strategies undone, and then we'll see what happens. But this has now left a big gap between Basner and Quintino, and that could be a lovely place for both Bohm and Ralston to slot out into. Of course, we did see it with Cloud, but you can now see this pit lane exit where, of course, you cut off the first 2 corners, you cut off turn 3 as well, and you're instantly chucked down that back straight. And we can see plenty of battle if we do see these undercut strategies come into fruition of drivers being able to go side by side into this next chicane, which, Conrad Bohm taking a lot of sausage curb there, lucky to keep that one out of the wall, but took some flight there, did the Red Bull. Maybe it does give you some wings.
Yeah, possibly. It very much seems like it does indeed at this moment in time. And that's what we're talking about in terms of the drivers. Absolutely just having a bit of fun out there as well. And just pushing to the limit, trying to find that limit. And then basically getting jump scared around this Madrid circuit at the same time. But yeah, this is definitely just one of those venues where you're going to get lots of close moments. It'll most likely be the loudest thing that we shout about here today, in all honesty. Track limits very much could be another if drivers are abusing it. Here's Abe Gabadi. He also joins the group of drivers in terms of making their pit stop, and he was of course one of our higher contenders as well, as he gets ready to hit his marks, and the mediums go off. The hards of course go on, and he gets ready to rejoin the fast lane. Victor Riddler also in the background.
Yeah, this is an interesting moment here for Abe Gabadi. Of course, was running in 3rd fastest, and now see what he can deliver. Cloud sets the fastest lap of this Grand Prix, so that's maybe something to note as well. He's done 2 laps on those hards, and now Gabadi is back out onto the road. Now down in 17th place, 2.8 seconds clear of Conrad Bohm, where we saw him, of course, have this huge moment over the sausage curbs and just keep it out of the wall. But for Gabadi now, he needs to put his foot to the floor. He needs now to push. But does this entice Tulki, Vermont and Flack into the pit lane, or are they just going to stick to their current strategy, their original plan, as Gabadi taps the wall once again? He's really struggling with the front end of that car. It's starting to understeer slightly. Of course, he is on cold tyres, but that's not the first time we've seen him tap the ball here today in the race, Omi. So he's certainly struggling as goes really wide once again. That front of the car not biting as Basner picks up our first track limit penalty.
Yeah, first of many, I would very much assume. It did get to under a 10th. It did get to under a 10th between 1st and 2nd. Won't be a 10th for long, because Larry Tulki's coming into the pit lane as well. Let's see who joins him on this lap. Stouchilek is in, so that's the other Alpine that's also dived in at the same time. So they'll hope that there's enough of a gap for both of them as they will make their way through and get down to turn number 1 at this stage as we jump on board with Stouchilek. So they're both choosing the exact same lap, so they're going to have to wait now. Stouchilek will at this moment, and then the crew will get ready again, replace his tyres, and he can be on his way as well.
Certainly can, but that's disappointing there for Statue. That would have cost him some valuable time. And talk about costing valuable time. Larry Tulki has come up behind Abe Gabadi by 1.5 seconds. So if we carry on this rate of improvement, it means that both Tulki and Gabadi will jump Dirt Vermont. And it shows that fresh, hard tyres compared to only 5-lap-old mediums at the time, there is a big, big difference. And that is a huge amount of time found for Abe Gabadi over the course of just 1 lap on colder tyres as well. But we know himself, he made a few mistakes on that lap, so there's even more time to be found on an undercut here, Omi. Gabadi lost about, I would say, 3 to 4 tenths of a second in this very corner alone, because he had to hesitate so much to get on the power because the front end was not biting. So for Larry Tulki and Gabadi, they could be talking 2-3 seconds clear of Dirt Vermont by the time he comes out of the pit lane. And does he come in this lap?
Well, let's find out. Answer is no. At this stage, continues on. But you know, it's basically so hard to overtake. Realistically, drivers will get a chance to defend if there's even one chance. So we're not going to be seeing much of it. So it's one of those races where you can try and go early, get that track position. And track position could be the important thing, because that's simply just how the Mad Race, the Mad Ring race has gone as well. And very much, definitely one of the most calmest PCF2 races it has been so far in the first 8 laps. And definitely things can suddenly spice up at some point. And I think we've actually had our first overtake of this race as well post lap number 1. Kunch has lost a position and he's down to 9th. Lawrence has therefore gone up, and actually we do have some side-by-side for you as things stand as well. So now Tom Roberts trying to go through, Kunch losing a couple of positions, and has he picked up possibly some damage, I wonder, because he's so much on the back foot. 1-4 he's gone through, Cameron Dowd's risking it now, the long way round the banking, massive speed at this stage, trying to get past the McLaren. Can he try and take the position on the circuit? It's going to get the inside line for the next corner. Kunch won't be able to battle up against that, and he's lost a couple of places on this lap.
Yeah, that's unfortunate there for Raphael. I'm unsure if there might be some end plate damage. I don't think there is. I think it's just those tyres really starting to degrade and the hards becoming the quicker one to be on. At the further back at that train of the drivers that have boxed, Laurie Tulki's really been able to catch up to the back of Abe Gabadi, but they've still got that healthy gap to Conrad Bone behind. And is this the opportunity for Vermont takes to come into the pit lane? Yes, it is. But the crucial fact now is how far back is he by the time he comes out of the pit lane to Gabadi, Tulki, and is he in that free air in between them and Bone, or is he going to get jumped by the Red Bull driver as well? So now trundling out of the pit lane is the Mercedes after swapping those tyres, comes out just behind Giovanni Kennis, who's also coming to the pit lane. Abe Gabadi and Tulki, they'll make their way through on that left-hand side. You can see them going into that first corner now. As we make our way now over that pit speed limiter line, Tulki and Gabadi have made their way out well in front, and he's come out behind Casper Flat. Maybe even Cloud here has Dirt Vermont, and this is bitter disappointment and a maybe, just maybe, waiting a little bit too long on the tyre front to come into the pit lane. But we've seen high tyre wear on those mediums. Could a 2-3 lap advantage over the likes of Tulki and Gabadi be what you need come the end of the race? Because of course there's still a long old way to go here, Omi. There's still another 21 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Could that tyre deficit still pay dividends?
Well, it'll definitely get him to the back. It'll put him in contention. Whether he can make the move, that is the difficult thing, because you can get onto the back, but can you then try and make the maneuver? Casper Flack right now chasing down Jensen Rosen at this stage, the two Haas drivers, and it's all about just keeping behind your rival, trying to push them into a bit of an error, push them into a mistake, and you can see that he's getting very close to the back. But as we mentioned earlier, corners just come up. Beisner is into the pit lane as well. Black just looking to try and wait for an opportunity as well, and definitely Rosen on that back foot, but it's where do you try and make that maneuver? He's basically being pushed through that final turn. We now make our way down the start-finish straight and down towards turn number 1. Getting close, but not close enough.
No, not close enough just yet between the two Haas teammates. Of course, Flack with a penalty, Ralston with not. And now as we make our way down into turn 6, I don't expect a move to be made here from Casper Flack. And he has not made that move. He sits behind teammate Jensen, but a good launch there out of the chicane. He's going to look to the inside into this next right-hander. Gets chopped off by his teammate. Well played there by Jensen Rowson, using his car to good effect. And there won't be an opportunity now into these next couple of corners. A slight tap on the wall, and this is also inviting Dirt Vermont back into the equation and to try and get a move done himself. Round the outside, Casper Flat was looking for that inside line just that little bit quicker. And now we're going to see Rowson defending to the next left-hander. No, we're not, because it's not going to be an opportunity to be made. Statulet behind was going for a lunge onto Victor Fiddler. Has he got that move done? No, he's not. And Fiddler's able to hold on to that 16th place for now. Stachulek and also Vermont making two big errors in their strategy. Of course, Stachulek coming on the same lap as his teammate. Vermont staying out a little bit too long, because look at that gap now between Tulki and Conrad Bohm, Omi. It's now 4 seconds. That's a big deficit that Vermont will have to eat into if he gets by the cars in front.
Yeah, very much not in an ideal position is Vermont, as they went longer, as now this is actually going to be Vermont, and this is very close stuff as we make our way down towards the first braking zone on the circuit. Three wide would be quite something, and in the end they all end up maintaining positions. Rowson ahead of Flack, ahead of Vermont, and now is that going to be a chance for Flack to try and make the maneuver? We're heading to a part of the circuit where you'd preferably be single file, but that was getting very, very close. Vermont definitely searching for his opportunity, but it's all about where can you overtake, where can you try to get alongside his rival. But now he's going to have to watch the Haas pair do battle and go side by side, and Flack still can't find his way by. Look at Vermont just trying to set up a maneuver and just be there at every single corner and then wait for the chance to come in.
Look at the train of cars that this is starting to hold up, from Jensen Rowson all the way down to Giovanni Kennis, who himself might be making an opportunity onto Stachulek, because we also just see that's going to be Vermont around the outside of Casper Flack. That's a lovely move from the Mercedes man. The man who took pole position has just swung it all the way around the outside of Casper Flack through the left-hander, and he moves himself up into 12th place. That is a spectacular, spectacular move from Dirt Vermont. It was bold, it was brave, it was beautiful, as Raphael now picks up a 3-second time penalty. Now we're going to see a lunge to the inside on Rowson. We are, but does he go deep? He's just able to keep the car out of the wall. Rowson will get the up and under. We'll try it again for the penultimate corner, but he gets the move done. Aggressive but fair racing by Dirt Vermont. A spectacular move to the inside once again to get the move done on the Haas driver. And Jensen Rowson, I think, was completely caught off guard. They was not expecting the Mercedes up the inside. Now coming under all sorts of pressure from his teammate. Some slight contact between the pair. Casper Flack will try hold it round the outside. Will now look to tuck back into the slipstream and maybe try get a run himself again. Tom Roberts picks up a 3-second time penalty. Bones now 5.5 seconds behind on Tulki and Gabadi. And Victor Fiddler is able to get past Cloud just behind the fighting Haas pair, who now make the run up into the next right-hander. Flack, as we see from Cloud, looking for a lunge. They nearly both go off and into the wall. It's aggressive racing. It's very hard racing, and these two are teammates.
Superb move from Vermont a few moments ago. Not just one, but two. That was incredible. Considering we're not getting any overtaking, well, it's now beginning to take place just a little bit. That's going to be Gabadi versus Larry Tulki. They were clearing Lawrence, which is why they, well, have just momentarily been bunched up. So it's all happening here. Casper Flack is still looking for the move. The gap nearly going inside 1/10 of a second even. That is how much Casper Flack is on it. Last thing they want is to come together and have a collision, but they're very much risking it to the inside line, and finally getting through is Casper Flack. He's going to fight his way by, threatening to do that for a while. They got so close to contact, as meanwhile Vermont is gaining another position, and he gets past Conrad Bohm. He continues to go on the attack, does Dirk Vermont.
He is very aggressive. He knows what's at stake. He knows he's now going to pull in a 6-second gap to Tulki and Gabadi. And he has just been absolutely on it these past 2 laps. 3 spectacular moves in the span of 2 laps. And Casper Flack with a spectacular move of his own up the inside into the S section. And to pull that move off and keep both cars out of the wall. Brilliant racing respect from the pair of them as well. The 2 teammates going to war. Casper Flack comes out on top. But Dirt Vermont knew he had to get a move on. He saw how much time Conrad Bohm was losing. He saw how much time the 2 Haas drivers were losing, battling with one another. And he certainly has put his foot to the floor and started to really try and hustle this gap back down. Of course, looking for his first Tier 2 victory, his first F2 victory here tonight. And he's got now Lorenz in between himself and the two he's fighting with. And of course, for Gabadi and Tulki, they're now slightly being held up by the two Scuderia Ferrari. So the prancing horses might be able to do the Silver Arrows car quite a favour.
Absolutely. It's a race which has just got a little bit tasty with the few overtakes that we've had in the last few moments, because we weren't expecting anything. But usually in PSG or PCF2, no matter what configuration of racetrack we go to, the drivers find ways to make the contest come alive, even if it is just briefly, as we make our way through. Oh, that's Gabadi, not with the line that he would have wanted, and Larry Tulki is going to go through as a result. So he's going to fight his way by, and yeah, that
Gabadi's disconnected again!
Yeah, he's disconnected. It's happened again. It happened in Shanghai as well 3 weeks ago, and it's happened once again for Gabadi. And he's a driver with so much pace. He's so talented and he's so rapid, constantly in the fight, constantly running nearer to the front of the field, and then things like this go wrong, and what a shame once again for the Racing Bulls man.
Oh, for Abe Gabadi, if it's not a disconnect, it's a game crash. If it doesn't rain, it pours. For the poor V-Carb driver. It was a similar story last season in F3. He wasn't able to partake in some rounds due to Wi-Fi issues. And unfortunately, through no fault of his own, it's happened again. That's the second time this season he's had an issue which has caused a disconnection. And that's some more big points going amiss. It would have been an opportunity, especially if he was able to finish that race in Shanghai. It could have been a podium there. It could have been the race victory here tonight, as Larry Tulki's been able to get past both Roberts and Dowds. So he is now into the race lead, and we could be looking at Larry Tulki's first race victory of the season. But oh, for Abe Gabadi, he has been the best of those drivers who have made that step up from F3 to F2 this season. He has really been at the forefront of all the action all season long, and once again, through no fault of his own, it's come to an end as Vermont looks to the inside of his AI. It should be an easy move, put into the wall, and that's caused Vermont to have a slide, and Gabadi's got front wing damage now, so it goes from bad to worse, even if he does rejoin the session. And now here come Lorenz round the outside, who's yet to pit, the only driver yet to pit along with the two Ferraris in this race. Here comes Flack, and then it will be Conrad Bohm. And for Abe Gabadi, he's just dropping further and further back. The front wing damage, that's race over. And once again, it's just disappointment there for Gabadi. He's flacked to the inside of Lorenz, forces the Aston over the gravel, and he's still able to get the move done. And now Conrad Bohm's looking to get by the Aston Martin.
Well, we have got a aggressive AI out there on the circuit. Is the only thing I can very much say. Lap 15 out of 29, about half race distance. Oh my word, Cameron Dowds finding himself leaving the session, as well as Tom Roberts makes his way through on the circuit. Look at what it's causing on the circuit right now, as in Gabadi and his AI causing cars to go absolutely everywhere. That's going to be close for Diego Ferreira, one of our F3 contenders, now with us in the field, and he's hit the wall as well as a result. Right now, that Racing Bulls is being such a big problem, and Cameron Dowds' his AI will be the same as well in a few moments' time. This is not working out for the field as they try and overtake.
It certainly is not. Around a circuit where you can't really make overtakes, having an AI where, of course, there's no ghosting, it's not really the best thing to do, because of course you're trying to get through. It's got so much of a speed differential because it goes so slow into the corners. It brakes so early, it hesitates to get on the throttle for quite a while. You are just trying your best to get through as cleanly and as quickly as possible. You can see how slow it went through turn 2 there. Luckily for Dirt Vermont, he should be able to get by down this straight, or at least go to the inside by the time we make it to turn 5. And here he goes to the inside, and he will make his way through. No! Cameron Dowds' AI takes out Dirt Vermont, and he's still got his front wing intact. He's kept the car facing in the right direction, so I think he's still going to be alright in this race. But for Dirt Vermont, that's a big time loss, and the AIs are a whole other breed of aggressive at this stage. Cameron Dowds' AI saw that Dirt Vermont was going to make its way through, said, no thanks, mate. Vermont somehow keeps it out of the wall and keeps it in the right direction. But that certainly would have been a heart-in-the-mouth moment there for the Mercedes man.
I don't know what I'm seeing at the moment in time. This, well, considering this is meant to be one of the, well, and it is, definitely not the most classic race in terms of overtaking side by side, it's definitely giving us something that we haven't seen. And look at this, we're about to get more of it now. So Vermont hit by 2 AI cars. At 2 moments I thought that was it for him, and right now this is causing big trouble. So they're battling amongst themselves as they try and get past Cameron Dowd, and that's going to be very, very close once again as Lawrence fights his way by, and it's close into the corner once again. Round the outside, meanwhile, we've got Cloud trying to battle. He's up against Victor Vidler at this stage. That's the actual battle going on the circuit as they try and get past the AI, and luckily Cameron Dowd is going to come into the pit lane. Cloud is going to come in directly ahead as well. It is absolute carnage here in Madrid.
It certainly is indeed. It is all kicking off here on the live stream, but the one driver it's not affecting, the one driver who's not bothered about all this, it's Laurie Tulkey out of the front of the field in the Alpine. He's not had to deal with any of the AI cars, and he's just been able to make his way throughout the remainder of this, well, I'll say the remainder of this race. He's still got quite a way to go. He's still got 13 laps to go in this Grand Prix, but he's been able to make his way through quite nicely so far. Dirt Vermont, a very, very lucky man indeed to still be going in this race. Not only, of course, facing in the right direction, but still be in the hunt for the race victory. Certainly very lucky indeed. And by Cloud coming into the pit lane here, Omi, is this potentially where we see that a 2-stop might be the way to go here this evening? Because, of course, Lorenz has been able to take those tyres 16 laps, but look at the pace differential. It is so much slower being on those tyres against drivers who came in only on lap 5. So is a 2-stop the way to go? And are we still waiting on drivers to make that second pit stop here tonight as Santana's rounding into the wall and missing a front wing? I think that was contact with Raphael there.
Well, more drama continues here at Madrid as we still go side by side, still go wheel to wheel further back, and it is very, very close. So Victor Vidler up against Liam Stevens, I think, is the fight going on in the background. Stevens ahead of Vidler. Thomas Kokeni's going to get a great opportunity as well, and we are getting to contact territory. We're getting to the point of the race where drivers are now beginning to go and give different strategies a try as well. Giovanni Kennis going wheel to wheel. Okay, 2 battles going on at once. So Kennis trying to get past Vidler. Lebejna trying to also make a move as well at the same time into a part of the circuit where we'd want to go single file, and they do decide to go single file as well momentarily. The Audi's going to be all out of shape. Giovanni Kennis is still going to get a great chance to try and make the move, and then they condense down once again through a tight part of the circuit, and it's wherever an open door is that you're trying to make a move. Meanwhile, Dirk Vermont is looking for a maneuver at this stage. He's trying to get past Tom Roberts, who we are still waiting to see in the pit lane, and there is the Mercedes car ahead and into second place.
Lovely stuff there from Dirk Vermont to get past Tom Roberts, and the same can be said for championship leader Liam Stevens to get past there onto Lorenz as Pittor Stachulek is actually in front of him at the moment. So the championship lead as it currently stands will come down between Stachulek and Stevens. He now needs to get past on Jensen Ralston, who's had no pace ever since he come onto those hards compared to the likes of teammate Flack and Conrad Bone. And that gap between Tulkey and Vermont, even with that spin, he's been able to bring that gap down slightly. It's now 4.6 seconds, so it just shows how much pace that Mercedes driver does have at the moment. And we'll see what he's going to be able to deliver throughout the remainder of this one. Do we see another pit stop from these drivers? What is the strategy at play? As Lorenz is coming to the pit lane and retired. He's actually not going to do any more of this. Actually, no, I don't think he even came into the pit lane. I think he's retired on the road. We'll have a look quickly with Wojtek Steg. And yes, he's just parked up in the middle of the road, and that could cause a little bit of chaos on the racing line, as Cloud did have to take avoiding action. But as we make our way back throughout the field, Stachulek there, able to get past Jensen Ralston. He looks to the inside, and that's actually Ralston straight across the gravel, inviting Liam Stevens now into play. It certainly is. As soon as you see that door open, you've got to charge through it. You cannot let it be shut, because then you're vulnerable to the car behind.
Absolutely. And that's what Vermont has been so good at so far. Can Liam Stevens go the long way round now? Looking for a manoeuvre at this stage. Rosen not having the best couple of laps. And with about half the tyre life, he will sail the long way round. And he will find himself taking the position when he arrives in our camera shot there. Stevens up to 7th. Jensen now beginning to struggle and drop down the order. as a result of his older tyres now, and he found himself really on the back foot, and this race is providing chaos in a lot of different ways at this stage, and we're on lap 19 out of 29, so still we've got quite a few more laps to run until we are home. But Larry Tulke having a great drive. Dirk Ramond has closed in by about a second. Only issue is he had 5 seconds originally in total, as Casper Flack also fights his way through on Roberts, who very much just continues to run out there.
Certainly does indeed. So we'll see what, of course, Roberts is doing with his strategy and how it's going to play out for him. We're also going to see if Vermont is able to catch up to Larry Tilke, but that gap has somewhat stabilised over the past few laps. We've got 10 more racing laps to go. See what he can do with all of this. You can see Statulate, of course, Jensen Rowson and Stevens all pushing on. Look at Conrad Bowman, who's somewhat in the world of his own. He's going to be the next target on Statulek's list, but he's also got to have his mirrors full of the championship leader, Liam Stevens, who's getting closer through the banking. We might see a move here from Stevens, who pulls to the inside into the next left-hander, and he gets the move done before even hitting the braking zone. So the championship leader ahead of his closest championship rival in today's race, and he moves himself up now into 6th with his teammate Conrad Bowman in front with a big tyre offset. And I think that's all what really gave Stevens that opportunity there on Statulek, Omi, was the tyre offset he has. He's got 8 lap old tyres compared to 13, 5 laps of a difference, and it shows by how much grip he's able to get out of those tyres still compared to the Alpine.
Yeah, absolutely. At this stage, we're going to have to bring out the NASCAR terminology, the lone line and the high line being taken, and Stevens using it to his advantage and making his way through as well due to the tyres at the moment as we enter lap number 21 of the contest as well. And you've still got a couple of drivers all running close to one another as different strategies meet in the middle. And it has definitely been a race which has had a lot go on in the last few minutes, let's just say. And for now, we're going to be seeing how the remaining is going to go. Larry Tulke in an absolutely extraordinary position, in an incredible position at the front of the field. And it was unlikely that, you know, if someone was able to get a big margin, that they'd lose it. So Tulke, all he has to do is just keep driving at the front and keep it nice and clean. Remember, the safety car factor that you would expect, typically, we don't have safety cars as a whole at the moment due to bugs. So he's got that element completely gone, so he can just put his foot down and just drive his race. Whatever happens behind, whether it's a pile-up, whether it's chaos, he can just continue on his way.
Yeah, he certainly can. Of course, he is now just bringing this one home. It's all about just slowly bringing this back and getting it home in one piece. He's got the gap over Dirk Vermond. Even if Vermond takes about 2 tenths a lap off him, it's not going to be enough to have an overtaking opportunity at any point around the circuit, so he can just slowly bring this one back. Gabali's finally joined the lobby again, but it's too little too late. He's down in 18th place, 4.4 seconds back from Wojtek Steg. And now for, of course, Dirk Vermond in second. It is mainly just bring this one home for second place as well, your first podium of the season. And for Casper Flack, he's driven a really great race. He's got a 3-second penalty, I believe, at the moment. Let's quickly bring up the penalties. Yes, everybody on 3. So that's Flack, Roberts, Kennis, Basner, Raphael and Ferreira, who have all got 3-second time penalties. But he's got that gap over Conrad Bohm. So we're also going to see another one of the F3 promotions from last season, Casper Flack, be on the podium, like we saw with Ave Gabadi in the opening round. And it's going to be Casper Flack in 3rd place as well.
Absolutely. Lap 22 out of 29. Great to have your company wherever you might be watching from in the world as we do our first race here at Madrid in PCF2, the 164th PCF2 contest. Of course, a tier that has been in operation since season 29 as well. In terms of where you can find all the information here at PSGL, because I know there's a few questions regarding PCF1. Well, there's nothing out yet, but the way you'll be able to find out is through our Discord server and also our social media as well on Twitter. So make sure you are in the Discord and also following along with that as we continue to progress through our 4th contest of the season.
Yeah, we continue to progress, and for the front of the field, the battle for the race lead is pretty much over and done with, as Tom Roberts has finally come into the pit lane and off those hard 22 laps is able to be done on that tyre, as Liam Stevens is all over the teammate Conrad Bohm. This will be Stevens' first race, actually, if unless he's able to catch up to Casper Flack off the podium. He's got to gain around about 1.8 seconds, excuse me, onto Casper Flack in front in the span of around about 7 laps. Very easily can be done, but only with a 4-lap tyre differential. It might still be a bit of a struggle, because Flack has had great pace in this race so far. We'll just have to see what Stevens can do. Finished first, he then finished third. He finished first in Belgium. He might be on for another 3rd place finish. He might be starting a little bit of a pattern here, Omi. Of course, 100% podium finishes. But with a race win followed by a 3rd place and another race win followed by a 3rd place, would that mean next week, if he does get this 3rd place here, we could already put our money on a Liam Stevens race victory?
Who knows? Who knows? We might be able to, with the way that things are going. With the way things are going at the moment, Larry Tulkey on his way to another victory when it comes to PCF2. And of course, he took the checkered flag first last season, but chasing a 2nd victory now on his 45th race start today. The only, well, when he was on the top step of the podium, it's also been his only podium as well. So looking to try and turn that number to 2 by the end of the contest. We're getting very, very close in the mid-pack. Victor Vidler is trying to battle with Tamas Kokeni. Giovanni Kennis is in the mix as well as they continue scrapping away. So some battling and very close between 9th to 11th. Raphael is in the mix. You've also got Lucas that's joining the party at this stage. So many drivers finding themselves in contention, and lots of side-by-side still ongoing in this race on lap 24 as we continue ticking our way. And this man who's in your picture is ticking his way closer and closer to the checkered flag. Look at how close it is between the McLarens. Beisner and also Kunch finding themselves in massive trouble over the gravel, like we've seen a few drivers do, and then straight into the part of the barrier, but they continue on.
They certainly do indeed, and that was a slingshot moment like we saw, of course, for it was one of the Audi cars earlier on. I think it was Victor Vidler who came out the pit lane and then flew himself straight over on the sausage curb earlier on, as that was Cloud making his way through on Raphael as he moves up into 12th. Of course, he's the driver on a 2-stop strategy. So he's going to try and at least make up a couple more places to maybe even finish with a points finish in this race. Kennis is all over the back now of Jensen Rowson, who's holding up this train once again. He is really a rolling roadblock in this race. And here comes Kennis looking to the inside, is not able to get the move done, but Cloud is able to get a move done around the outside now of Lucas Beisner. Lovely stuff there from the Cadillac driver, who's up into 11th place now and looking to score some points on his F2 debut, of course. One of the F3 drivers who's made the step up along with Beisner and Raphael for this evening's race, and we'll see what he's going to be able to deliver. But this is where all the action is going to be had, and also between Stachulek and Conrad Bohm.
Absolutely, getting very close together, and move made over the road as well. We see for the Red Bull in the end then of Conrad Bohm as they make their way to much more closer in this part of the circuit, and they are just about going to make the corner, and that's going to be Kokeni up against Giovanni Kennis at this stage, and it's getting very close as we rise uphill with Beisner also. He's going to be looking to try and get involved, and he's actually battling with his teammate Kunch at this stage. So the two drivers who are battling at the front of F3 this season when it comes to their championship now very close together as well in F2 as they make their way through the banked corner, and Cloud is looking very, very close to an overtake. In fact, he is going for an overtake on Victor Vidler. That's going to be late on the brakes. Very close. Cadillac versus Audi at this stage. And it is the Audi that stays ahead. And Victor Vidler hangs on. But of course, his tyres are basically done at this stage. So Cloud can pick his line. He's going to try and go around the outside. It'll be tight between the pair of them. He's going to be pushed off the road. Very nearly thrown into the barrier. And it can be passed or be passed sometimes. And that's why Lucas Beisner is on the scene now, looking to try and capitalise on any opportunities as well.
Yeah, he certainly is indeed. Of course, these drivers, especially on their rigs, will be very, very hot at the moment. And I hope all you guys at home are keeping yourself refreshed during this race.
Yes.
And try and keep as cool as possible. I know Omi is. I know he's got a little fan on demand. If you've seen his socials about what he does during a heat wave. And of course, as we now look to the inside with Cloud at turn 1, he's hit the side of Victor Vidler. Over the curb goes the Audi, but the traction is in the Cadillac's favour, and he will see himself through a push-to-pass move there. A real bullyish move from Cloud to make his way through. It's aggressive, it's fair, it's rubbing his racing. And now that's put Victor Vidler on the back foot against Lucas Basner. And he is now coming under all sorts of pressure from the two McLarens behind, but he's able to hold on for now as Giovanni Kennis is still stuck behind Jensen Rowson. He may not have the pace here, Jensen Omi, but he certainly has the defending capabilities, because he not only did he hold Casper Flack behind his teammate for quite a while. It's all about Casper Flack. He's now been reeled in by Liam Stevens, and at the moment will lose that podium position. But he's holding off Giovanni Kennis and also holding off Tamas Kokeni at the same time, as now the Cadillac tries to go all the way around the outside of the Aston Martin. A spectacular move there from Tamas Kokeni up into 8th place. Could he get by the Haas driver now? But Rowson defending for his life and making that Haas car the widest car on the grid.
Absolutely, that Haas car is very much defending all the right places at this stage. We're all on board the train right now at the moment, and you can see Tamas Kokeni was looking for the move, so Kennis is now going to need to try and respond and try and make that manoeuvre once again. Bit of a twitch there for Tamas Kokeni. Is that going to present a chance now to Kennis? We will make our way through the final turn, and we're heading to some of, well, the places where we've seen moves made so far today, and it's getting very, very close down towards the first braking zone of the circuit. Is Rowson's defence about to come to a close? It seems like it is. That's off the ideal racing line, however, as Tamas Kokeni made the move, and now can Giovanni Kennis try and make the manoeuvre as well. Some of the best chances to try and make an overtake is when everyone is running very, very close together. So this could be the chance for Kennis to go down the inside in towards the chicane, and the Aston Martin driver gets ahead, and he'll now go chasing up ahead as well, as meanwhile Cloud is the driver who is taking the opportunistic move at this stage. Victor Vidler's in the Audi. He's trying to make a pass as well. It is getting very chaotic on the 27th lap of this race as they all try and fight over the final points paying positions.
Victor Vidler into the wall. I did see some front wing flying off from another car all the way up into that right-hander as you headed out of the chicane. I'm not sure who picked that up. I think it could have been Cloud, but I think Victor Vidler might have now just picked up some front wing damage, and yes, he has. He's understeered wide into the wall. He clattered into it, so maybe he was the one who did come victim of that front wing damage. But both the Cadillac drivers making a real resurgence at the end of this race. Tamas Kokeni will be disappointed with a 7th place from where he started, all the way up in 4th place, I believe. And then for Cloud, he will be very happy with starting down at the back of the filter, scoring some points, and on a 2-stop strategy as well. Certainly has fought his way back through rather nicely indeed. Stevens is now 1.6 seconds behind Casper Flack, so we could potentially see him still be able to pull off a move on that Haas driver to get the penalty, get the podium on the road. And now for Cloud, here he comes onto Giovanni Kennis, looking to the inside into turn 1 as easy as you like. When you have that much of a tyre difference in age, it is going to be easy pickings, and I won't be surprised if Tamas Kokeni doesn't fight this one too aggressively either.
Yeah, we are finding ourselves in a situation where Cloud is going to try and make that manoeuvre as soon as possible. If Kokeni's got a chance to defend, he might try, because we've seen a few drivers be able to park the bus. Perfect example, of course, Rowson of that. Just being able to defend, and we are on the penultimate lap and about to make our way onto the final lap. So there's still plenty of chances to try and do that as they still rotate their way through some of these turns. We're through the banked corner as well at the moment. And Lucas Beisner just looking onto the back of Rowson and then trying to see whether he can pull alongside. The two McLarens have been close together all the way through. And when it comes to the F3 standings, as I mentioned, they are first and second with 1 point separating them. So they've been inseparable here today as well.
Yep, certainly have been indeed, as here around the outside will go Cloud on Tamas Kokeni. Is he going to be able to get the move done? No! He's had a slide. He's just kept it out of the wall big enough for a front wing damage. He did tap it slightly, but I don't believe he would have got any damage from that. But that was a big slide, and that's Roberts now attacking Giovanni Kennis as well. So he's somehow been able to make his way back up into the top 10 after going extremely long on those hards and restarting the final lap of the Grand Prix now with Laurie Tulke 3.5 seconds clear of Dirt Vermont. Further back from Giovanni Kennis and Tom Roberts, you've got Jensen Rowson still coming under all sorts of pressure from Lucas Basner. He looks to the inside, and he will now get the up and under, and there goes Lucas Basner, and potentially Raphael as well. Once Ralston gets past by one, it's usually the other just following him through here on the final lap. But no, Raphael has to sit behind. He's not able to get past on the Haas driver. Roberts, of course, will still give Kennis a run for his money. Kilkenny will be home free for that 7th place, you would think now, unless he has a big moment. But as actually we look for third place, it is Stevens who's able to get past Casper Flack. So no matter if Casper Flack's able to get that penalty removed, Stevens has found his way through. But at the front of the field, there has been one man who has got the strategy to pinpoint perfection. He may have had a battle with Abe Gabadi in the final few laps if he did not disconnect, but that don't matter. He was still there to capitalise, and the Alpine man is going to look at his 2nd race victory here in PCF2. It's been a fantastic drive from Laurie Tulke, who comes back from the summer break with a bang. A lovely drive from the Alpine man as Dirk Vermont finishes in 2nd with his first podium, and the championship leader, Liam Stevens, will finish off in 3rd from Casper Flack. But for Laurie Tulke, the Finn is able to reign supreme once again, and for the first time this season takes race victory, and he did everything he needed to do. It was pinpoint perfection on the strategy front, broke away from the pack, got the undercut when he needed it, and then was just able to drive off into the distance with no worries at all. And Laurie Tulke is your race winner here in Madrid. A spectacular drive.
Yeah, absolutely. And because it's PCF2, there was always going to be some chaos at the end. Germano Kennis finding himself bringing out the yellow flags in the 2nd sector on that final lap, while we were enjoying the glorious, the victorious moments for the man who ended in P1, Laurie Tulke. That was a superb performance, a superb drive, and an incredible performance. The team, of course, getting the strategy right for him, and then of course it was over to him. It was over to him to put together the incredible pace, and we had some great driving as well come in, equally by Dirk Vermont. Some of the moves he made, the pace that he had, I think he showed today that he absolutely had some great pace under him, and it's going to be fascinating to see how the rest of the season is going to go with the order. I'm sure kind of returning back to normal. Madrid has definitely been a bit of an outlier, but one which Laurie Tulke is absolutely going to enjoy and savour as well. A superb performance. So we'll run you through the results now of an incredible race. Laurie Tulke takes his 2nd win in PCF2. Vermont in 2nd, and Stevens on the podium once again. Casper Flack in 4th, then Stouchelek 5th, Conrad Bowman 6th, Kilkenny 7th, Cloud, Roberts and Rosen your top 10. Roberts, of course, having some issues earlier on where he disconnected. Punch in 11th, then Beisner, Riddler, Ferrer, and then Kennis, Santana, Steg, Gabadi, who also found himself with game issues, Dowds, and then Lawrence, Quintino, and Nelson Alves. A few of your retirements at the bottom. Alves' race, of course, came undone right after the opening lap of the contest.
Certainly did indeed. But big congratulations there to Laurie Tulke. It may be an outlier circuit. It may not sum up the whole season. It could be a track where this is the only chance we see Dirk Vermont and Laurie Tulke at the front. Even though Vermont wasn't able to win, though, it still showed that around some tracks they do have the pace, and they were able to capitalise on it. They didn't let the pressure get to them. Vermont was just unlucky that the AI is just, for some reason against him, decided to turn into the most aggressive drivers I think I've ever seen in my life. And that could have been the difference from winning there, because not only did he have one mistake that lost him, I would say, about half a second to a second, he also had that slide where he got tagged by Cameron Dowds, which would have easily lost him 2 seconds. So he could have had a fight at the end there. It's just the AIs didn't really want that to happen.
Yeah, it was a, let's just say, fascinating contest, I think it's fair to say. Well, usually, in every single game, we get, Monaco once. I don't think we're going to see this returning back, as Krypton has very much said as well in the chat. So congratulations, Laurie Tulke. Probably the only winner at Madrid for at least quite a while. For at least, at minimum, quite a while as well. And we're soon going to be able to get some words from him to see from his side, how did that go?
Yes, we shall get some words from the race winner. Let's quickly bring him in now. Not sure if we're going to get any words from either Vermont or Liam Stevens. Have to wait and see. Liam Stevens is usually when he wins, he comes in third place. But hello, Laurie, can you hear us?
I can, yeah.
Well, first of all, congratulations on your second win in F2. Of course, just talk us through things. How did you find that race?
I mean, it was fine, to be honest, to drive that track, so it felt really good to drive it.
Seemed like you really enjoyed yourself out on the road as well. You had a big gap in the end, but just talk us through the circuit as a whole. I mean, a lot of these drivers aren't big fans of Madrid. Is it a circuit that just naturally gels to your driving style? It's something you've easily been able to adapt to?
I mean, yeah, but it's like Monaco with high-speed corners. Like, it's so tight and twisty. Like, it's easy to hit walls in every lap.
Certainly is indeed. But just talk us through the strategy as well. Of course, you came in a little bit earlier than Vermont and just after Ave Gabadi. Was you expecting Vermont to maybe reply instantly to you coming into the pit lane, or was you very confident you were going to get the undercut anyway?
Yeah, I think they should have just went in, to be honest, in that point, but like, it's their mistake, but like, the strategy was fine today, and it worked out.
Certainly did work out indeed, and of course, in those final few laps of the race, of course, it's still a very challenging circuit, but of course, you had such a big gap over dirt behind. Was it just all about bring it home, take no risks for the last 10 or so laps, and just make sure you got it to the line?
Yes.
Fair enough. And of course, next time out, we head to... I quickly just double check the calendar. We head to Spielberg. We head to the Red Bull Ring in Austria. Of course, you've come back from the break week with a great win to build up the momentum. Are you confident around Austria? Is that a circuit you're comfortable around?
It's okay track, like, I don't hate it or anything, like, it's fine track, to be honest, to drive.
It is a very deep track indeed. And of course, one last one from me before I let you go, Laurie. Of course, we had the break week. Just how was it helpful having that break week after the start of the season that you've had, where it's not been too strong, to at least focus on Madrid a little bit more and then come back with a bang?
No, I was like in the break week, I was resting my right leg, so because it was sprained like twice, so needed to rest that.
Let me see. Like the resting did work, but well, Laurie, congratulations on your race victory, and you never know. Hopefully, we see you back next week as either a race winner or another podium sitter in Austria.
Yeah, we will see. Thank you.
Joining us. Well, that was Laurie on what was a spectacular drive here tonight in Madrid. I don't think we are going to get the other two drivers, so that is going to be all for our interviews. But Omi, it was a very short and sweet interview there from Laurie, but I mean, when you have a race like that, there's not really too many words you can really put to it. It was very much, he did his strategy, got the lead, and that was that.
Yeah, definitely not wasting our time at all one bit. Madrid in the books, summarised it very quickly with some simple words, and it's going to be a fascinating round in Spielberg. But yeah, a really deserving driver, and really happy that he was able to get that one over the line. And we've had some other incredible drivers as well so far this season who've been able to put some performances. Madrid, definitely a round where you could capitalise. Lots of drivers not doing it as a whole. Lots of drivers not having the day they would have wanted. But yeah, looking forward to going back to Spielberg. Of course, a short circuit. So we're going to get qualifying very much close and in the balance. Will be fascinating to see whether Tony Hietala can get back up there when he returns with us, or will it be someone else? So, lot to look forward to when we make our way in a week's time to Spielberg. The rounds are going to come thick and fast because it's basically every single week now from this point onwards until we end the season in round 11.
Certainly is indeed. Let's actually run you through the calendar for the remainder of the season. Now, as I mentioned, we do head to Spielberg next week, where we make our way to the Red Bull Ring. Then we go to Imola, of course, where potentially, now when we've all thought it was maybe gone forever, we might actually get the real-life F1 26 cars racing around there come the end of the season. Then we got Vegas, Mexico, Brazil, Bahrain, and Texas to round off the season. So a very frantic run to the end of the calendar. Well, of course, we shall finish on October 1st in Texas. That will be when we do finish off the season, of course. And Omi, of course, before we head off, is there any last words from you about tonight? And also, what are your first thoughts of the Madrid circuit?
Well, let's just say if you want to watch more Madrid racing festival, if it's your style, then on Monday we've got the PlayStation tiers running. What's my first thoughts, Max, and possibly even the last thoughts when it comes to Madrid as well, because I don't think we'll be seeing it for quite a while. So for Madrid, my thoughts basically overall are it was hard to overtake. F2 drivers still found a way. AI wanted to spice up the race as well. Overall, quite chaotic. Overall, lots of collisions. And I think we're all just ready to look forward to the remainder of the season.
Yeah, we certainly are indeed. So join us next week, 8 PM UK time, 9 PM European time, for a trip to Spielberg, Austria. A trip to the Styrian Hills at the Red Bull Ring, where we shall see if Liam Stevens can extend that championship lead by even further. He did it tonight. Itala will surely be back next week. We do have a lot of challenges now on the cards for the championship. It may be a little while until we see Madrid again, who knows? But we shall, of course, see you next time out in Spielberg. So that's going to be all, ladies and gentlemen. Stay safe, stay well, and we shall see you in the next one. Thank you, and bye-bye.